Hello friends, today I am here with a very important topic, biodiversity. This topic is in APSC GS paper 4 for mains. It is also in APSC GS paper 6 which is related on ASSAM. Besides this topic is also in the geography optional. So that's why it is very important topic. Okay. Now before starting my class, I would like to give few questions that came in the previous year papers either in UPSC or in APSC. Okay, the first question is, how does biodiversity vary in India? How Biological Diversity Act 2002 helpful in conservation of flora and fauna? That came in 2018 mains UPSC. Number 2, define biodiversity. Write about the conservation efforts being undertaken to preserve biodiversity of Assam. That came in 2016 APSC Geography. Number 3, what is biodiversity hotspot? Write the biodiversity significance of Northeast India. That came in 2016-17 APSC GS paper. And number 4, how does biodiversity vary in Assam? But in today's my class, I will stick only with the biodiversity. Next class, I will tell about the biodiversity of Assam. Okay, so let us start today's class. Now, what is biodiversity? Biodiversity is defined as the species richness or richness of a species, richness of species, species richness or richness of species. That means, or we can define as number of species present in an ecosystem. What I am saying, biodiversity can be defined as species richness, or we can define as what? Number of species present in an ecosystem. Present in an ecosystem. Number of species present in an ecosystem. Now, what is ecosystem? Okay, what is ecosystem? What is ecosystem? Now, before defining ecosystem, I would like to say that is type. Its components. Okay, first, ecosystem has mainly two components. One is called biotic components. Okay, biotic components. Next one is it abiotic components. Okay, what I am saying, ecosystem has two components mainly. One is biotic components, another is what? Abiotic components. And ecosystem, there are various types of ecosystem. We can consider it as what? A pond ecosystem. What you can consider? Pond ecosystem. Okay, pond ecosystem. We can consider it as what? Jaipur forest. Okay, that is in Dibrugarh. Okay, Jaipur forest, that is evergreen forest, only that is found only in Assam. Okay, that is in Dibrugarh, Tinsukia district. Okay, so Jaipur forest, evergreen forest, that we can take the example of what? Ecosystem. Pond ecosystem, forest ecosystem, marine ecosystem, desert ecosystem. There are various type of ecosystem. But first of all, we consider here give one example of what? Pond ecosystem. What I am taking? Pond ecosystem. Okay, pond ecosystem. Pond ecosystem. Okay, so before defining anything, first of all, what I am saying, ecosystem has two components, biotic and abiotic components. And there are various types of ecosystem, pond ecosystem, or you can say water ecosystem, Jaipur forest ecosystem, or you can say forest ecosystem. We can take the example of marine ecosystem. We have the desert ecosystem. Okay, there are various types of ecosystem. Okay, before defining, suppose I have taken one example of pond ecosystem. Okay, so pond ecosystem has two components. One is the biotic components and one is what? Abiotic components. Okay, so for first of all, take biotic components. Okay, first of all, we will take what? Biotic components. Okay, now in the pond, what we have? In the pond, what we have? We have producers. Okay, what we have? We have producers. Okay, we have producers. In the pond, we have producers in the form of green plants. Okay, producers in the form of what? Green plants. Okay, producers in the form of green plants. Then we have what? Primary consumers. What we have? Primary consumers. Okay, primary consumers. Okay, what are primary consumers? Primary consumers basically what? They are basically, we can take the example of primary consumer as what? Protozoa. Okay, protozoa, we can take the example of what? Primary consumers. Then we have secondary consumers. Then we can take the example of what? Secondary consumers. What we can take the example? We can take the example of frog. Frog is the secondary consumers. Frog, or we can say even small fish. We can take even small fish, the example of what? Secondary consumers. Then we have what? Tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers. What we can take the example of? We can take the example of big fish. Okay, big fish, we can take the example of what? Tertiary consumers, or we can take example of snake. Snake is also the example of what? Tertiary consumers. Okay, these all are consumers. These three are what? Consumers. Next we have what? Next we have decomposers. Okay, next we have what? Decomposers. Okay, next we have what? Decomposers. Decomposers are mainly what? They are fungi, bacteria, etc. Okay, fungi, bacteria, etc. Decomposers are what? Fungi, bacteria, etc. Okay, decomposers are fungi, bacteria, etc. Now, what is happening here? Producers are consuming, producers which are in the form of green plants. Primary consumers are taking green plants or absorbing or eating green plants. In simple terms, primary consumers are eating what? Green plants. Okay, or primary consumers, for example, protozoa. Protozoa is eating what? Green plants, because green plants are not producers. Okay, primary consumers, they are eaten by secondary consumers, frog or small fish. Okay, secondary consumers are eaten by what? Tertiary consumers in the form of big fish or snake. Okay, what I am saying is what? Green plants are eaten by protozoa, protozoa are eaten by frog or small fish, frog or small fish are eaten by big fish or snake, and okay, and when they die, when these consumers, primary, secondary or tertiary, when they die, okay, they are decomposed by decomposers. Okay, they are decomposed by what? Decomposers. Okay, they are decomposed by what? Decomposers. Okay, and these decomposers make the food particles into what? SSI. Okay, simple soluble inorganic molecules. Okay, these decomposers make the what? Make this consumer, primary consumers, when this primary, secondary or tertiary consumers, when they die, these decomposers in the form of fungi and bacteria, they convert this into simple soluble inorganic molecules. Simple soluble inorganic molecules, which are taken by what? Producers. Okay, they are called producers because producers who can produce their food themselves by the help of photosynthesis. Example, green plants. Green plants are called producers because they can make their own food by the help of photosynthesis. Okay, now these producers are taking the food which is called simple soluble inorganic molecules. Okay, and these simple soluble inorganic molecules are made by decomposers from the death of protozoa, frog, big fish, which are primary, secondary or tertiary consumers. In simple terms, if I define, what I can say, producers are eaten by primary consumers are eaten by secondary consumers are eaten by tertiary consumers, and when these consumers, primary, secondary, tertiary, when they die, then they are decomposed by decomposers, and they are converted in the form of, these decomposers converted these primary, secondary or tertiary consumers into simple soluble inorganic molecules, which are taken by what? Producers, mainly what? Green plants. So what we can conclude? We can conclude that they are maintaining a chain which is called what? Food chain, and this interaction is nothing but what? That means what we can say, these biotic components interact among themselves. What we can say, these biotic components interact among themselves. Okay, what we can say, these biotic components can interact among themselves. Okay, besides this, the pond system also possesses sunlight. Okay, what they have? Sunlight, water, dissolved oxygen. Okay, they are also present. Okay, they are present as in the pond as at what? Abiotic components. So these biotic components, besides interacting among themselves, they also interact with the what? Abiotic components in the form of sunlight, water, oxygen, etc. So what we can conclude, finally we can conclude that these biotic components interact among themselves. In addition to that interaction, these biotic components also interact with the what? Abiotic components, which are mainly sunlight, water and oxygen. This interaction in among the biotic components, also these biotic components interact with the what? Abiotic components. This is called what? Ecosystem. What is ecosystem? These biotic components interacts among themselves. Besides this, these biotic components also interact with what? Abiotic components. This is called what? Ecosystem. Okay, this is what ecosystem is. Now I will discuss biodiversity in details, and we will follow a roadmap, and this roadmap will helpful for answer writing also. Now what is that roadmap? First we will have to know what is biodiversity. Okay, so first we have to, what is biodiversity? First we have to know what is biodiversity. Okay, what is biodiversity, and some facts that is related with biodiversity in Indian perspective. Some facts on Indian perspective. Okay, some facts on Indian perspective. Then we will study about the variation of biodiversity, variation of biodiversity across the globe. Okay, so first, what is the first? We will study what is biodiversity, then some facts on India. Next we will study the variation across the globe. Now second is what? Second we will study what? Levels of biodiversity. Okay, levels of biodiversity. Next we will study what? Measurement of biodiversity. Okay, measurement of biodiversity. Okay, next we will study about the what? Hotspot. Okay, we'll study about what? Hotspot. Okay, hotspot we'll study next. Okay, after that we will study what? We'll study uses of biodiversity. Okay, next we will study threat. What are the threat of biodiversity? Okay, threat of biodiversity. Next, most important is what? Conservation of biodiversity. Okay, conservation of biodiversity. Next, okay, next class I will discuss diversity on ASSAM. Okay, diversity based on what? ASSAM. Today I cannot complete because this will take at least 1 hour. Okay, now this conservation is basically of two types. Okay, conservation of biodiversity. Okay, basically this is of what? Two types. Number one is international measures. Okay, international measures. Okay, international measures. Next one is what? National measures. Okay, national measures and international measures. That means conservation of biodiversity can be done. It is basically done in international level, and it is also done in national level. Okay, now what are the international measurement? Okay, international measures includes what? First is what? It is what? First is a red list. Okay, so red list is the what? First measures. Okay, it is done under IUCN, and this red list I already done in the Dihing Patkai. When I done about Dihing Patkai, then I already mentioned what is red list, how it is done. Okay, so follow that person if you want to know what is red list. Okay, next topic is what? Next, how international measurement is what? Next is CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity, Convention on Biological Diversity, that happens in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, or we can say this is as a what? We can say this is what? Earth Summit. Okay, the Earth Summit which took place, in 1992. Their Convention of Biological Diversity was also one of the major outcome. Okay, and it had taken place in the Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 1992. Okay, next international measurement is what? Biosphere Reserve. Okay, Biosphere Reserve. Okay, Biosphere Reserve. Okay, so these are the three basic measurement taken by internationally. Okay, these are the international measurement to conserve what? Biodiversity. Now, what are national measurement? Okay, national measurements includes number 1, Conservation of Biodiversity Act. Okay, we can say Biodiversity Act. Sorry, we can say Biodiversity Act. Biodiversity Act 2002. Biodiversity Act, which was passed at what? 2002. Okay, this was the one measure for India. Okay, this is the one measurement, okay, for India to conserve biodiversity, which was passed at 2002. Okay, this act was called what? Biodiversity Act. Okay, another measurement by declaring the protected areas. Okay, by declaring what? Protected areas. Okay, now what are protected areas? Protected areas includes mainly what? This includes mainly national park. Okay, this includes mainly national park, wildlife sanctuary. Okay, wildlife sanctuary, national park, community reserve. Okay, one is community reserve and conservation reserve. Okay, so the conservation of biodiversity method, basically there are two types. Okay, one is at international level, another at national level. International level conservation of biodiversity is done by what? Red list. Okay, by what? By declaring red list by IUCN. Next, by what? CBD, Convention of Biodiversity, that took place in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 1992. That is also called Earth Summit. Okay, number 3, by providing Biosphere Reserve. Okay, these are the international measures to conserve biodiversity. Now, national at national level, or we can say at Indian level. Okay, Indian level, we have Biodiversity Act, which was passed at 2002, and there are also some protected areas which are declared. These protected areas includes national park, wildlife sanctuary, community reserve, and conservation. Okay, reserve, community reserve, conservation reserve. So these are the what? Conservation methods. Okay, both internationally and nationally. Okay, now we will come to this. We already discussed what biodiversity. What I told about the biodiversity, it is richness of species. Richness of species is defined as what? Biodiversity, or you can say number of species present in an ecosystem, that I already discussed. Number of species that present in an ecosystem is also called what? Biodiversity. Now some facts in Indian perspective we would like to study. What are those facts? Number 1 fact is what? India is having what? 2% world landmass. Okay, 2% world landmass. India is having 2% world landmass, but India is having 7% biodiversity across the world. Okay, biodiversity across the world. What I am saying, although India possesses only 2% landmass in the world perspective, but India is having 7% biodiversity. That means India is very rich in biodiversity because it possesses 7% of biodiversity across the world. And UN declared 22 May as International Biodiversity Day. What I am saying, UN declared 22 May as International Biodiversity Day. At the same time, UN also declared 2010 as the International Year of the Biodiversity. What I am saying, UN also declared 2010 as International Year of the Biodiversity. Also UN declared what? UN also declared 2011 to 2020 as the International Biodiversity Decade. Okay, UN declared 2011 to 2020 as the International Biodiversity Decade. Okay, these are the 4 things which you have to remember. One is what? India possesses only 2% of all land mass, but still India is having 7% biodiversity across the world. And UN declared 22 May as the International Biodiversity Day. And UN also declared what? 2010 as International Year of the Biodiversity. UN also declared 2011 to 2022 as International Biodiversity Decade. These are the 4 facts which we have to remember. Okay. Now we will study about the variation. Okay, we'll study about the variation. Okay, we'll study about what? Variation. Variations we have to study in globe perspective, in the world perspective. Okay. In the world perspective, we have to study about the what? Variation. In the world perspective, we have to study about the what? Variation. So what the world perspective is there? World perspective is what? See, if this is the globe, okay, if this is the globe, this is what? Equator. If we move from equator to pole, listen very carefully what I am saying. If we move from equator to pole, then biodiversity decreases. Biodiversity decreases. What I am saying, if we move from equator to pole, then biodiversity decreases. And we can say what? In the tropic region, we have maximum biodiversity. Biodiversity is maximum where? Biodiversity is maximum at what? Tropic region. This is the tropic region. In this tropic region, biodiversity is what? Maximum. In the tropic region, this is the what? Tropic region. This is the equator. This is the equator. This region and this region are said to be what? Tropic region. This is what? Tropic region. And in this tropic region, biodiversity is maximum. But in the temperate region, we have less biodiversity. Okay, less biodiversity. What I am saying till now I am saying that when we move from equator to pole, biodiversity gets decreases. When we move from equator to pole, biodiversity gets decreases. And we can say what? Biodiversity is maximum at the tropic region. At the same time, biodiversity is minimum at what? Temperate region. Now reason behind why, we can say why biodiversity is maximum at tropics and minimum at temperate. Why it is maximum at tropics and minimum at what? Temperate region. Okay, I am saying why biodiversity is maximum at tropics and minimum at temperate region. Historically, if we see, temperate region is what? Frigid zone. It is considered what? Frigid zone. Temperate region is considered what? Frigid zone. So in the frigid zone, obviously biodiversity is what? Minimum. Frigid zone, obviously biodiversity is what? Minimum. So if we compare the tropics and temperate region is historically what? Considered as what? Frigid zone. Because of frigid zone, what? Its biodiversity what? Are less. But here, since it is not frigid zone, tropics doesn't fall under frigid zone. So at tropics, biodiversity is what? Maximum. Number 1 region. Number 2 region, sunlight falls the abundant amount of sunlight falls in the tropic region. So in the tropic region, sunlight falls abundant amount, optimum amount. Okay, but in the frigid temperate region, there is no abundant sunlight. Okay, since here it is not abundance in temperate region, we don't have abundant sunlight, and abundant sunlight is what? It is one of the important factor for biodiversity. Okay, because life, whether it's plants, whether it's animals, we need what? Sunlight. Since in the tropic region we have sunlight, abundant amount sunlight, but in the temperate region we don't have abundant amount sunlight, because of which the in the temperate region we have less biodiversity, but in the tropic region we have abundant amount of what? Sunlight. Since in the tropic region we have abundant amount of sunlight, where maximum biodiversity are found in what? Tropic region. Unlike what? Temperate region. In the temperate region we don't find what? Abundant sunlight, because we don't have there abundant sunlight, so there is a less flora and fauna. And the same third region is what? In the tropic region we have stable climate. In the tropic region what? We have stable climate. Okay, in the tropic region we have what? Stable climate, but here is extreme climate. Okay, extreme climate. Okay, extreme climate. Where it is extreme climate? In temperate region we have extreme climate, but in what? Tropic region we have what? Stable climate. Since in the tropic region we have what? Stable climate. Since in the tropic region what we have? Stable climate, but in the temperate region we have extreme climate, and stable climate is the favorable condition for biodiversity or flora and fauna. Stable climate is the favorable condition for flora and fauna, and extreme climate is not favorable condition for flora and fauna. That's why we found maximum biodiversity in tropic region, and in the temperate region we found what? Minimum biodiversity. Okay, tropic region we found maximum biodiversity, but in the temperate region we found less or minimum biodiversity. Okay, so this is what variation across the globe. Okay, what we have found? We have found that what? If we move from equator to pole, then there is a what? Tremendous decrease in biodiversity. Okay, that in the tropic region we have maximum biodiversity, in the temperate region we have less biodiversity. Next, levels of biodiversity. Next I am going to study about the levels of biodiversity. Okay, so biodiversity levels, actually there are three types of biodiversity levels. One is what? Called genetic biodiversity. One is called what? Genetic biodiversity. Okay, next one is what? Species biodiversity. Next one is what? Species biodiversity. Number 3 is called ecosystem biodiversity. Okay, ecosystem biodiversity. What I am saying, levels of biodiversity, there are basically 3 levels of biodiversity. Number 1 is genetic biodiversity. Okay, number 2 is species biodiversity. Number 3 is ecosystem biodiversity. Now, genetic biodiversity that occurs because of variation of genes. Variation of genes. What I am saying? I am saying what? Biodiversity that occurs because of variation of genes. That means in details, you see, I am giving one example. Suppose this is human. Human, scientific name of human is what? Homo sapiens. Scientific name of human is what? Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. Okay, what is the scientific name of mango? Scientific name of mango is what? Magnifera indica. Scientific name of tiger? Panthera tigris. Okay, so I am considering what? Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is what? Species. Homo sapiens is what? Species. Homo sapiens is what? Species. Species is called Homo sapiens. Suppose across the world we have 600 crore population. Okay, across the world what? We have 600 crore population. Okay, this 600 crore population are called individuals. These 600 crore population are called what? Individuals. Okay, individuals. What I am saying is I am giving one example. What is that example? I am giving the example of human being. Human being are called what? Homo sapiens in the scientific name. Okay, Homo sapiens is the scientific name of human being. Okay, so Homo sapiens is the one species, single species. Okay, single species are called what? Homo sapiens. Okay, so suppose in the world we have 600 crores of population. So this 600 population, that means one individual, like this. How many individuals are there? 600 crore individuals are there. Okay, so one single species, how many individuals we have? 600 crore individuals are there. These 600 crore individuals, okay, everyone is different from each other. Everyone is different. Okay, no one is similar. Everyone is different. This 600 crore population, if you consider, no one will be what? Similar. Everyone is what? Different from each other. Okay, in the structure of nose, in the structure of eyes, head, everything, what all 600 individuals are. If you consider, no two will be alike. No two individuals across 600 crore will be similar. No two, I am saying no two individuals will be similar. Why? Because of variation of genes. What I am saying? Because of what? Variation of genes. Okay, because variation of genes. Every individuals have varied genes. Every individuals have varied genes. Since genes are varied, therefore they are what? Not similar. They doesn't look similar. Okay, so because of variation of genes, we have what? Because of variation of genes, we have different individuals. Okay, species is same, Homo sapiens, one single species, but have 600 crore individuals, and these individuals, no two individuals are similar look. Because why they don't have similar looks? Because they have variation of genes. Okay, so here biodiversity occurs because of difference or because of variation of genes. Okay, so because of variations of genes, if the diversity occurs, that is called genetic diversity. What is genetic biodiversity? Because of variation of genes, okay, the diversity occurs. Because of variation of genes, the biodiversity is occurring. So since because of variation of genes diversity is occurring, that is why it is called genetic biodiversity. That is why it is called genetic biodiversity, or you can use one word, intra-species biodiversity. Okay, intra-species biodiversity. What I am using the word genetic biodiversity is called intra, not inter. What I am saying, not intra, 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 intra-species biodiversity. Okay, the biodiversity is occurring because of variation of genes. That is called genetic biodiversity. Next one is what? Species biodiversity. What I am saying, species biodiversity. Okay, if genetic biodiversity is called intra biodiversity, okay, if genetic biodiversity is called intra biodiversity, then species biodiversity is called inter biodiversity. Inter biodiversity. What I am saying, if genetic biodiversity is called intra biodiversity, then species biodiversity is called inter biodiversity. Okay, inter, because what is inter biodiversity or species biodiversity? Okay, the species biodiversity, suppose I am considering what? Suppose I am considering any ecosystem. Suppose forest. Suppose Jaipur forest, evergreen forest, Jaipur forest I am considering, that is in Dibrugarh. That is the only rainforest available in Assam. Okay, so that rainforest, okay, suppose I am considering this forest as ecosystem. So this rainforest have what? This rainforest what? Different type of plants, different type of animals. Okay, so suppose this has this forest is having monkey. Simple, this forest is having monkey. Again this is having what? Tiger. Okay, suppose I am just giving the example, monkey, tiger, again fox. Okay, and if you consider that trees, various type of trees, we can consider mango trees, we can consider teak, we can consider sal. Okay, so this forest consists of monkey, tiger, fox, mango, teak, sal. So these are what? These are different species in the same ecosystem. These are what? Different species available in the what? Same ecosystem. Okay, what I am saying, these are the different species in the same ecosystem. Ecosystem is what? Forest. So in the forest ecosystem, what we are having? Monkey, tiger, fox, mango, teak, sal, etc. Okay, so here biodiversity is occurring because of different species. Monkey is different species, tiger is different species, fox is different species, mango is different species, teak is different species, sal is different species. So here biodiversity is occurring because of different species. Okay, in an ecosystem. So if the biodiversity is occurring because of different species in a single ecosystem, that is called species biodiversity. What I am saying, if the biodiversity occurs because of what? Different species in a single ecosystem, that is called what? Species biodiversity. Here single ecosystem is the forest, but these are what? Different species. Okay, so here biodiversity is occurring because of different species in the same ecosystem. That is why it is called what? Species biodiversity. Okay, next one is what? Ecosystem biodiversity. Next one is what? Ecosystem biodiversity. Okay, next one is what? Ecosystem biodiversity. What I am saying, next one? Ecosystem biodiversity. Now what is ecosystem biodiversity? Can you tell me what is ecosystem biodiversity? Can you tell me what is ecosystem biodiversity? Ecosystem biodiversity means what? Ecosystem diversity means what? Ecosystem biodiversity means what? The diversity occurs because of different ecosystem. The diversity occurs because of different ecosystem. Okay, that is called ecosystem biodiversity. For example, suppose I am moving from Sodia to Dhubri. I am moving from Sodia to Dhubri. Okay, I am moving from Sodia to Dhubri in Assam. Okay, so somewhere we will find what? Forest ecosystem. After 10 kilometer I will get some wetland. This is another ecosystem. After 10 kilometer we will get what? Paddy ecosystem, paddy field. Okay, rice cultivation is also one type of ecosystem. Okay, or you can say somewhere we will get what? Wet ecosystem, forest ecosystem. Okay, so everywhere we'll get. Okay, and we can get say paddy ecosystem, paddy field. Okay, or rice cultivation, that is also ecosystem, one ecosystem. So in every 10 or 12 kilometer I am getting what? Different ecosystem. So here the biodiversity is occurring because of different ecosystem. In the state of Assam, biodiversity is occurring because of what? Different ecosystem. Okay, for every 10 kilometer or 5 kilometer we are getting different ecosystem. Okay, so here biodiversity is occurring what? Because of different ecosystem. If biodiversity occurs because of different ecosystem for a particular state or a country or anywhere for a particular region, then it is called ecosystem biodiversity. Okay, so if biodiversity occurs because of different ecosystem in a region, that is called ecosystem biodiversity. Next one is that measurement of biodiversity. Next one is what? Measurement of biodiversity. Next one is what? Measurement of biodiversity. Okay, next one is what? Measurement of biodiversity. Now how biodiversity is measured? Okay, how biodiversity is measured? This is also very simple. How biodiversity is measured? Actually, it is of 3 types. Okay, it is of what? How many types? 3 types: alpha, beta, gamma. Okay, biodiversity is measured by 3 ways: alpha, beta, gamma. So here I will again consider one forest ecosystem. Okay, suppose this is the forest ecosystem, single forest ecosystem. I am saying this is a single forest ecosystem. You can name any forest. Okay, Amazon forest, or in India or Assam, any forest. Okay, this is suppose any forest ecosystem, single forest ecosystem. Suppose I am again taking Jaipur. Okay, JUYPUR, Jaipur forest ecosystem, that is in what? Dibrugarh. Okay, that is in Dibrugarh, Tinsukia and Shivsagar. Okay, so I am taking Jaipur forest ecosystem. Okay, so I am dividing this Jaipur forest ecosystem into 3 parts: A parts, B parts, A parts, B parts and C parts. Okay, I am considering Jaipur forest ecosystem and I am dividing Jaipur forest ecosystem into A, B, C. Okay, now this is single. This is what? Single forest ecosystem. Okay, but I am dividing into 3 parts: A, B, C. Now the number of, if I consider number of species either in A, or number of species either in B parts, or number of species either in C part, if I considered individually, that means number of species present in the portion A, or number of species present in the portion B, or number of species present in the portion C individually, that is called what? Alpha. Okay, that is measurement is called alpha. What is alpha? Alpha means what? If number of species present in the single parts of an ecosystem, that means number of species present either in A is called alpha, or number of species present either in B is called what? Alpha, or total number of species present in C is called what? Alpha. That means again I am repeating, the total number of species present at A is called alpha, the number of species present at B is called alpha, the number of species present at C is called alpha. Now what is beta? Beta means if I compare the total number of species at A with the total number of species at B. What I am saying, if I compare total number of species at A with the total number of species at B, okay, or if I consider total number of species at B with the total number of species at C, okay, or if we compare total number of species at A with the total number of species at C. Okay, what I am saying, I can compare total number of species at A with the total number of species at B. I can compare total number of species at B with the total number of species at C. I can compare total number of species at A with the total number of species at C. This comparison of A with B, comparison of B with C, comparison of A with C is called what? Beta. Okay, this is called what? Beta. What I am saying, if I compare total number of species of A with the total number of species with B, it is called what? Beta. Or if I compare total number of species at B with the total number of species at C, then this is also called beta. If I compare total number of species at A with the total number of species at C, this is also called beta. Okay, so this is called what? This measurement is called what? Beta. Now what is gamma? Gamma means what? Total number of species present with the whole ecosystem. Total number of species with the whole ecosystem. Whole ecosystem means A, B and C as a whole. If I compare overall number of species in the ecosystem, if I compare overall species in the ecosystem, that means we will not divide with A, B and C. We will consider as a whole total number of species present in the Jaipur forest. Total number of species present with the Jaipur forest, that is called what? Gamma. Okay, that means overall species present in the ecosystem is called what? Gamma. Again, I will repeat. What I am repeating is what? If I compare, what is alpha? Alpha means what? Total number of species present at A, alpha. Total number of species at B, alpha. Total number of species at C, alpha. Individually. Okay. Next, if I compare A with B, B with C, or A with C, that is beta. And overall species present in the whole ecosystem is called what? Gamma. I think everyone is what? Clear. Okay. Now we are going to deal with the hotspot. Hotspot, these are the places in the world. These are the places in the world which are very rich in biodiversity and at the same time they are threatened. What I am saying, these are the places in the world which are very rich in biodiversity. These are the places in the world which is very rich in biodiversity and at the same time these places are threatened. This term was coined by the hotspot term was coined by Norman Maier. Norman Maier had coined this term hotspot. Okay. Now there are basically two criteria which fulfill for the hotspot. Okay, there are basically two criteria which must be fulfilled to be the hotspot region. Okay, there are two criteria which must be fulfilled in order to fulfill the criteria of a hotspot region. Number one, the region must have 1500 species of vascular plants. Okay, what I am saying, number one, the region must have what? 1500 species of vascular plants, or you can say species endemics. Okay, species endemics. Okay, species endemics. Okay, species endemics means what? The region which are declared as what? Hotspot. Number one condition, this region must contain 1500 species of vascular plants. Okay, and this region must possess what? 1500 species of vascular plants, or you can say species endemics is what? It must possess 1500 species of vascular plants. Number two, 70% of original habitat. Okay, what I am saying, 70% of original habitat must be destroyed in last 10 years. Okay, must be destroyed in last 10 years. Okay, must be destroyed in last 10 years. Okay, in last 10 years. What I am saying is what? The region which are declared as hotspot, it needs to fulfill two criteria. Number one is what? The region must possess 1500 endemic species of vascular plants. The region must possess 1500 species of vascular plants. At the same time, the region must lose its 70% of original habitat in the last 10 years. Okay, in the last 10 years, it must what? In the last 10 years, it must lose its 70% of original habitat. Okay, if these two conditions are satisfied, the region is declared as what? Hotspot. Okay, now in India, what we have in Indian across the world, if we consider across the world, okay, if we consider across the world, we have 25 hotspots. Okay, across the world we have how many hotspots? 25 hotspots. Okay, 25 hotspots across the world. Out of these 25, India possesses 3 hotspots. Out of these 25 hotspots, India possesses what? 3 hotspots. Okay, India possesses 3 hotspots. Number one is what? Eastern Himalaya. Eastern Himalaya. Okay, Eastern Himalaya. Number one is what? Eastern Himalaya. Okay, Eastern Himalaya includes Nepal, Bhutan and Arunachal Pradesh. What I am saying, Eastern Himalaya includes Nepal, Bhutan and Arunachal Pradesh. Number 2, okay, number 2 region is what? Indo-Burma. Okay, number 2 region is said to be what? Hotspot region is what? Indo-Burma. Okay, Indo-Burma. Indo-Burma region is what? Another hotspot of India. Okay, Indo-Burma region include all northeastern states. What I am saying? All northeastern states. Okay, all northeastern states, Myanmar and Bangladesh. Okay, and Bangladesh. Okay, so Indo-Burma region is also considered as hotspots. This Indo-Burma region includes all northeastern states, Myanmar, Bangladesh. Number 3 is what? Western Ghat. Number 3 is what? Western Ghat. Western Ghat, Sri Lanka. Okay, Sri Lanka. Okay, so these are the 3 hotspots. These are the 3 hotspots found in India. Okay, these are the 3 hotspots found in India, and total number of hotspots across the world is what? 25 hotspots. Okay, number 1 is the Eastern Himalaya, which includes Nepal, Bhutan and Arunachal Pradesh. Number 2 is what? Indo-Burma. Okay, Indo-Burma hotspots that includes all northeastern states, Myanmar, Bangladesh. Number 3 is what? Western Ghat, that includes what? Sri Lanka. Okay, this is about what? Hotspots. Okay, this is about what? Hotspots. Now, use of biodiversity. Use of biodiversity, I think everybody know. What are the use of biodiversity? It includes food, fibers, we got oil seeds, medicines. Okay, but this use, you write in my comment section what are the uses of biodiversity. I have mentioned few, but this is not enough. You have to write in a nice way. So this is your assignment. What is your assignment? Just write the use of biodiversity in my comment section. Next, move to threat. Okay, now in the threat of biodiversity, one of the major threat is what? Habitat destruction. Habitat destruction because of many reasons. You can say industrialization, you can say change in river course, that leads to what? That leads to destruction of natural habitat. And secondly, fragmentation of habitat. Fragmentation of habitats again because of, you can say, change in river course also, you can say industrialization also. There are the many reasons behind what? Fragmentation of habitats. Number 1 is what? Destruction of natural habitat. Number 2 is fragmentation of habitat. And number 3, we can say because of pollution. Okay, air pollution, water pollution, these factors are responsible for threatening of biodiversity. Again, for exploitation. Exploitation is also one of the one of the reason, it also falls under threatening. Okay, exploitation of natural resources also fall under what? Threatening. Okay, and rhino poaching in Assam. Okay, this is also threatening. Rhino poaching, that I will do in the Assam biodiversity in the next class. Okay, today I am not going. Okay, again I will mention about that exploitation of biodiversity. Again I will mention that about the Bagjan also, and about the Dihing Patkai, that episode also, the threatening of biodiversity. All these I will mention in Assam parts. Okay, not now. Okay. Now, threat of biodiversity, actually I have already told. Now, this to use of biodiversity and threat of biodiversity, this is also your assignment. What is the assignment? You just write in my comment section what are the uses of biodiversity and what are the threatening, or write the threat of biodiversity. Why biodiversity is under threat, you write in my comment section. Okay, these are the two assignments. Now most important, and this is for the exam point of view also, this is very important, is what? Conservation of biodiversity. What? Conservation of biodiversity. Okay, this is very important. Now conservation of biodiversity, okay, it is done by two ways. One is international measures, another is national measures. National measures means we will talk about India. We will talk about the how Indian government or had taken the measures to conserve biodiversity. How Indian government had taken the measures to conserve biodiversity, and we will talk about what are the international measures to conserve what? Biodiversity. First, in the red list, okay, red list under IUCN, I already covered this topic in the Dihing Patkai. Okay, I already have one video related to Dihing Patkai, so you just please check that video about the red list. Okay, there I have explained in details. So now CBD, next topic is what? CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity. Okay, this Convention on Biological Diversity is the outcome of Earth Summit that took place in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. In 1992, their Earth Summit took place, okay, in Rio, which is in Brazil. Okay, and in that Earth Summit, what happened? There were actually 4 outcomes in the Earth Summit. Okay, in the Earth Summit, okay, in the Earth Summit there were 4 outcomes. Okay, there were what? 4 outcomes in the Earth Summit. Okay, there were 4 outcomes. 4 outcomes in the Earth Summit. Okay, in the Earth Summit that took place in 1992 at Rio, which is in Brazil. Okay, there are 4 outcomes. One was what? CBD. Another was what? UNFCCC. Another was what? Agenda 21. Another was what? Another was what? UNCCD, United Nations Convention, United Nations Convention to combat desertification. United Nations Convention to combat desertification is the one outcome. Agenda 21, which is for sustainable development in the 21st century, which is based on sustainable development. Okay, based on sustainable development, okay, on 21st century. Even CCC is related on climate change, and CBD is what? Convention on Biological Diversity. Okay, these 3 we will do in later classes, because today I will basically stick with the CBD. Okay, UNFCCC, which is based on climate change, Agenda 21, which is based on sustainable development on 21st century. UNCCCD is based on what? It is based on what? United Nations Convention to combat desertification. Okay, these three I will do later. Today I will basically stick with the CBD. Okay, Convention on Biological Diversity. Okay, Convention on Biological Diversity. Okay, today I will basically stick with CBD. Okay, Convention on Biological Diversity. Okay, it has basically three protocol. One is called HC protocol. Okay, HC protocol. Another is called Cartagena protocol. Next one is at Nagoya protocol. Okay, this is in Japan. Okay, HC is in what? It is in what? Japan. These are the conference of parties. Okay, it took place in Japan. This took place in Colombia, and this is also in Japan. Okay, Nagoya is also in Japan, and this took place in the year 2010. This is also 2010. Okay, but this took place in 2000. Okay, now what is the main purpose behind tree? The main purpose behind the HC protocol is what? Protection or conservation of biodiversity. What you can say? The main purpose behind HC protocol is protection of biodiversity or conservation of biodiversity. Okay, now what is in Cartagena protocol? Okay, the Cartagena protocols is mainly based on what? Sustainable use of biodiversity. Sustainable use of biodiversity. Okay, what is Nagoya protocol? Benefits of sharing. Benefits of sharing. Okay, I am going to explain. Now, protection of biodiversity, actually it set out a plan of 20. Okay, what is the actually what do you mean, how protection of biodiversity can be done? It set up 20 global targets. It set up 20 global targets. Okay, it had set up 20 global targets. Okay, under strategic plan of biodiversity. Under strategic plan of biodiversity 2010 to 2020. Okay, it had set out 20 global targets under strategic plan of biodiversity 2010 to 2020. Okay, now what is sustainable use of biodiversity under Cartagena protocol? So for that you have to know what living modified organism, LMO. What is living modified organisms? When parent organisms are modified, are called living modified organisms. Okay, when parent organisms are modified by using biotechnology. Okay, remember, by using biotechnology, parents organisms are modified, and then this modified organisms are called living modified organisms. By using biotechnology, they modified the parent organism, then it is called living modified organisms. Okay, now this causes threatening to the biodiversity. This living modified organism may cause what? Threatening to the biodiversity. Now what this Cartagena protocol, Cartagena protocol seeks to protect the threat that is posed by living modified organisms. Once again I am repeating, the Cartagena protocol, what it seeks to protect? it seeks to protect the threatening that is caused by living modified organism. These living modified organisms can be a threat to the biodiversity. So these living modified organisms can be what? Threatening to the biodiversity, but this Cartesian protocol, what it seeks to protect the threatening that is posed by what? Living modified organisms. Okay, now what is Nagoya protocol? It is what the main purpose is what? Benefits of sharing. Suppose I will give one example. Suppose a scientist from Germany had used Indian resources. What I am saying is what? A scientist from German is using our resources, Indian resources, and he used our resources and made something or discovered something. Okay, a scientist of Germany came to India and used our resources. By using that, he had made something or discovered something. Then he has to give something to Indians. As a royalty, he has to give something to Indians because resources is ours. Since resources is ours, so the German scientist has to give something benefits. Okay, that is called benefits of sharing. The German scientist who had used our resources and discovered something or invented something he got some profits by using our resources, then he has to give some benefits to India because resources is ours. So that has been what? Ensured by Nagoya protocol. Okay, that has been ensured by what? Nagoya protocol. Okay, so these three are what? CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity. Okay, next, Biosphere Reserves. Biosphere Reserve is also international measure. I will deal Biosphere Reserves little later. Okay, I will deal it little later. Next one is the national measures for conservation of biodiversity. Okay, national measures for conservation of biodiversity. So first is what? Biodiversity Act of 2002. So what happened? Biodiversity Act of 2002 was enacted to implement conservation of biodiversity by providing three institutional structure at three different levels. What I am saying, in order to implement Convention of Biological Diversity, it has provided, okay, the Biodiversity Act of 2002 has provided three institutional structure at three different levels in order to implement Convention of Biological Diversity. Okay, that we already studied in CBD. Okay, in order to implement the conventions of biological diversity, India also what? Passed Biodiversity Act 2002 in the parliament. Okay, now what the purpose, that means what are the main three structures that this Biodiversity Act 2002 exist? The three structures were basically Biodiversity Act of 2002. Okay, Biodiversity Act of 2002, what were the basic three? Okay, basic three structures. Okay, what are the basic three structures of what? Biodiversity Act of 2002. Okay, Biodiversity Act of 2002, what are the basic three structures? Number one is what? NBA. Number one is what? NBA. Okay, NBA. Number one is what? NBA. Number two is SBC. SBC. Number three is what? BMC. Okay, BMC. NBA means National Biodiversity Authority. What? National Biodiversity Authority. Okay, National Biodiversity Authority. SBC means what? State Biodiversity Committee. State Biodiversity Committee. Okay, State Biodiversity Committee. Okay, BMC means what? What do you mean by BMC? Biodiversity Management Committee. Biodiversity, okay, Biodiversity Management Committee, okay. So it is what? National Biodiversity Authority. National Biodiversity, BD means Biodiversity Authority, okay, authority, and state Biodiversity Committee, okay. So now what is the function? Okay, the function of NBA, National Biodiversity Authority, is to what? Implement Biodiversity Act at national level. Biodiversity Act at national level, okay, at national level, okay. What I am saying is what? National Biodiversity Authority implement Biodiversity Act 2002 at national level. State Biodiversity Committee implement Biodiversity Act 2002 at state level, okay. And Biodiversity Management Committee implement Biodiversity Act 2002 at what? Local level, okay, local level. What I am saying, National Biodiversity Authority implement Biodiversity Act 2002 at national level. State Biodiversity Committee implement Biodiversity Act 2002 at state level, and Biodiversity Management Committee implement Biodiversity Act at local level, okay. Next, number 2 is what? If someone is what? Non-Indians. Suppose if someone is what? Non-Indians researcher, okay, someone is what? Non-Indians research, okay, researcher. So if non-Indians which are not Indians and they are what? Research person, okay. If someone is non-Indians researcher, then he has to take permission from NBA, okay. If some non-Indians want to research in Indian biodiversity, he or she has to take prior permission from National Biodiversity Authority. If someone is Indian has to take prior permission from State Biodiversity Committee. If he or she is what? Non-Indians, then he has to take permission from what? National Biodiversity Authority in order to do the research in Indian biodiversity, okay. That means if the fellow is non-Indian or not Indian, that means he is from foreign country, other country, he wanted to take research on Indian resource or Indian biodiversity, then he has to take prior permission from National Biodiversity Authority. If he is Indian, then he can take the prior permission from what? State Biodiversity Committee, okay. This you have to remember. And number 3, NBF, National Biodiversity Fund, which includes fees, license, okay, which includes fees, license, okay, which includes fees, license. National Biodiversity Fund, which includes fees, license, okay. It is created by National Biodiversity Authority. NBF, National Biodiversity Fund, which is created by National Biodiversity Authority, okay. NBF, which is called National Biodiversity Fund, which includes fees, license, etc., license fees, etc., and this is created by NBA, okay. And these fees are used for local from where the resource or from where the biodiversity is originates, okay. These fees whether it may be license fees or any other fees which is collected, this have to be used for the local from where the resource have been, from where the biodiversity have been originated. Okay, and in BMC the main purpose, what they maintain a registers, they maintain a what, registers. Okay, they maintain a what, registers. Okay, they maintain a registers where they maintain a registers where they have to keep record all the biodiversity of the region, all the biodiversity. Okay, biodiversity. Okay, they actually BMC at Biodiversity Management Committee, they maintain a registers where all the species of the region has to be keep recorded. Okay, the that means Biodiversity Management Committee, they maintain a registers where all the species within that local or within that area are recorded. Okay, so these are the what, 3 different institutions at 3 different levels. Number 1 is NBA, National Biodiversity Authority. Number 2 is SBC, State Biodiversity Committee. Number 3 is BMC, Biodiversity Management Committee. And this Biodiversity Act at national level is implemented by NBA. Biodiversity Act 2002 is implemented by SBC. Biodiversity Act 2002 at local level is implemented by Biodiversity Management Committee. Okay, so if some non-Indians wanted to take research on Indian biodiversity, then he or she has to take prior permission from NBA. If that research fellow is Indian, then he or she has to take permission from SBC. Okay, and this NBF, National Biodiversity Fund, is created by NBA. Okay, which includes fees, license fees, etc. And this fees is used for the locals from where the biodiversity has been originated. Okay, and this BMC, they maintains a registers where all the species, okay, biodiversity, all the species, that means all the species have been recorded in that local area. All the species of that area has been recorded in the registers. Okay, next one is that protected areas. Okay, by declaring protected areas also, the conservation of biodiversity can be done. Okay, the conservation of biodiversity can be done by using what? By declaring protected areas. Now, what are protected areas? What are protected areas? Okay, the protected areas basically includes, okay, protected area is basically include what? National park, wildlife sanctuary, again community reserve, again conservation reserve, biosphere, and others. Okay, so these are considered as protected areas. By using protected areas also, we can conserve biodiversity. Now, NP can be created by both state as well as center. Both center and state can what? Create national park. Okay, WALS, wildlife sanctuary, also can be created by center as well as state. But this community reserve can be created by state. Conservation reserve also can be created by state. Now the biosphere, okay, this is formed under UNESCO. This is formed under UNESCO under World Heritage Program. Okay, this is formed by UNESCO. Okay, this is formed by UNESCO. Okay, and also recognized by UNESCO. Also recognized by what? UNESCO. Okay, formed by UNESCO, also recognized by UNESCO. Okay, and it is maintained by state. It is maintained by state. Okay, it is maintained by state, created by center. Created by center. Created by center. Once again, I am repeating, UNESCO is formed under, Biosphere is formed under UNESCO World Heritage Program. It is recognized by Biosphere is recognized by UNESCO. It is maintained by state. It is created by center. Okay, created by center, maintained by state, form under UNESCO, and it is recognized by UNESCO. Okay, the difference between NP, National Park, Wildlife Sanctuary, Community Reserve, Conservation Reserve, Biosphere. Okay, this I will do in the when I will do what biodiversity on Assam. Then I will distinguish all this. Okay, today this is the okay. That's all, because already I have done enough. Okay, so stay and also listen the next video. Everyone see the next video, because if you don't see the next video, then it is meaningless. Okay, because next video will be based on Assam. Okay, so Assam, it is very important, because we have 250 marks. Okay, on mains, mainly on Assam. Besides this, the 35% may come in the preliminary exam for the APSC. Okay, in the prelims also 35% will come from the Assam. Okay, so be careful. Thank you.